If Steph Curry and LeBron James played on the same team, how many championships could the two win together? Today we're going to find out as we're taking rookie LeBron and sending him to the 2010 season to pair up with rookie Steph Curry, which means the two can now change NBA history as we know it as teammates. Which is exactly what they did in their first season together, as Steph's already leading the team in scoring with 26 points per game while LeBron's bringing his all-around play to the Bay, averaging 22 points of his own and dishing out 7 assists as well. But while the two are really good and they're bound to win several titles, there's still one major question that we have to answer. Who's actually better? Because while in real life we can point to their finals matchups to find the answer, that doesn't work here. So in order to answer the question, we'll have to count up their regular season MVP awards and their finals MVP awards in order to make that decision. And with season 1 being mostly uneventful, let's move on to season 2 to see what the duo can actually get done. So now wearing some more familiar jerseys, both LBJ and Steph are making some massive improvements, especially LeBron, who's seeing all his stats jump across the board with averages of 23, 7, and 8. But while he's much improved, he's still falling short, as Steph would see his points per game already jump up to 29, and as the leading scorer of the team, called upon to hit clutch shot after clutch shot. For the win! Yes, sir! In the end, it would be him, not LeBron, walking away with the first MVP between the two players. Steph's going up 1-0 in the MVP race. It's only his second season as well, which is kind of crazy. With all that being said though, don't count LeBron out just yet, as he's a major reason as to why the Warriors are the 2 seed now entering the playoffs. And with the duo well on their way to being NBA legends, they would rip through the Western Conference, sweeping Denver with Melo, OKC with KD and Westbrook, and while Kobe would give them issues in the conference finals with both Steph and LeBron at the top of their games, they would come out on top, advancing to the finals for the first time in only their second seasons. Now heading to Chicago to challenge the Bulls and Derrick Rose as their final opponent. Obviously in real life D-Rose won the MVP, but there's 2 players on Golden State that are good enough to win the award themselves. I don't think it's a crazy statement to say that the Warriors have the advantage, and my confidence in them would wind up being justified, as from the opening tip it would be clear that the shooting of Steph and the interior dominance of LeBron would be too much for D-Rose to handle. So in the end, while he would put up a good fight, the Warriors are walking out of this one in 5 games, raising the trophy as champions in only season 2, without a doubt proving that both stars are MVP caliber players. So it's only fitting while Steph won the regular season award, LeBron's taking home some hardware of his own, as he'd be the one winning the finals MVP. This competition is going to be closer than a lot of people think, for sure. So with that being said, the duo have split the 2 major awards in their first title run, now heading into the 2012 season. And while we're on the topic, it's worth mentioning that we're going to be simulating until the present day to not only give both LeBron and Steph plenty of time to rack up awards, but also form possibly the best team the sport has ever seen. Before we get to that though, let's focus back on our 2 heroes, as Steph would continue to average 29 per game, sitting close to the top of the league as far as scoring goes. But while he's improving slowly, LeBron's improving fast, building off of his finals performance, now averaging 27, 9, and 9. Which basically solidifies himself as the best player on the Warriors, as he's now winning his first MVP, tying him up with Steph. LeBron's on the board for the MVP. He's now won 2 straight major awards. So now with LeBron becoming the unofficial face of the Warriors, it's clear the pressure is without a doubt on Steph. Good news for him though, it's not solidified just yet, and if he can have a good playoff run here, it might work out, as last year the 2 split the 2 major awards, and there's definitely a chance of that repeating. Either way, the 2 would once again storm through the West, most notably destroying Oklahoma City, featuring Kevin Durant in the conference finals for a 2nd straight time. And while we don't know for sure what KD's thinking, we all can probably guess. To get back on topic though, that means that the tandem are heading to Orlando for their 2nd straight finals, where they'd be up against Dwight and the Magic. But just as it was last season, while Dwight's no doubt heading to the Hall of Fame one day, there's 2 that fit the same description wearing the blue and gold, which would result in another title for the Warriors and another finals MVP for LeBron James, taking it away from Steph, ultimately meaning that LeBron's going 2 for 2 on awards in season number 3. And while it doesn't have to be explained how ironic that is, we're now entering the 2013 season, which definitely right now means more for Steph's legacy than LeBron's. If he falls behind even more this season, he's at risk of making the deficit so large that he won't be able to recover. But since LeBron's the superior athlete, rebounder, defender, and passer, it's not going to be easy for him to top the pure stats that he can put up. And if you look at the history of the game and how usually the MVP has some kind of freakish athletic or physical trait, the odds are definitely against Steph. But with all that being said, if he's going to win this competition, he'll have to do it in a way that only he can do. Launching from deep, finessing his way around the basket, and becoming the most dangerous scorer in the league. Because in his 4th season, he's finally bringing home the scoring title with an insane 33 points per game. But most importantly, it's enough for him to bring home the MVP, now making that race 2-1 in favor of himself. Don't count out Steph just yet, it's not over. He still has a chance to make sure that the Warriors are his franchise. So with all that momentum, the Warriors would set out to try to win their 3rd straight title. And at the very least, they're giving themselves a fair shot as the Western Conference once again is no issue. Which means that the two are now heading back to Florida for the finals. Only this time they're in a much different city than Orlando, as the two now find themselves up against the Miami Heat featuring only D-Wade and Chris Bosh. Obviously in real life LeBron would be here too, but this time he's on the other side, and because of that, this one would be quick as well, as both LBJ and Steph Curry would win the battle of the duos and in the process change NBA history. Because with LBJ not being in South Beach, it's highly unlikely that that franchise will ever become a dynasty. And with the help of Steph, he's not taking his talents there anytime soon. And with the two bringing home a title in Miami, it's only fitting that the finals MVP would ultimately be going to Steph Curry, as he would continue where he left off in the regular season to bring home the award, finishing off with a clean sweep to cap off, without a doubt, the most dominant season between the two to date. And they've also officially three-peated, which I don't... Listen, man, the Bulls dynasty, MJ Pippen was good. LeBron and Steph, they might be better. So with that, it's pretty safe to say that this race will eventually go down to the wire, as both players are hitting their strides now entering the 2014 season. And while there's been a ton of focus on both LBJ and Steph, we can't forget about their star-studded supporting cast of Klay Thompson, Andre Iguodala, and Draymond Green, making LeBron and Steph's jobs extremely easy to the point where the MVP race is now completely up in the air. The MVP is either guaranteed to go to LeBron or Steph, but right now LeBron's #1 in the race. But in the end, while Steph is no doubt the superior scorer and the go-to option on the team, the voters have made it clear that LeBron's near triple-double stat line at the moment is more valuable, resulting in LeBron winning his 2nd MVP. So nothing changed from when we saw the standings. He's almost averaging a triple-double. But while the two are coming off 3 straight titles and are by far the most hyped up team in the league, there's no guarantee that their run will last, as the talent across the league is improving rapidly. There's both potential stars that could get in the way in the future, and of course older veterans that could cause some problems now. None better illustrated by the Chris Paul-led Clippers, who the Warriors would meet in the 2nd round. And to keep it short, while one day in the future he'll find his way onto the team with both LBJ and Steph, at the moment he, along with Blake Griffin, would definitely live up to the Lob City title. As while LeBron and Steph to this point have steamrolled every other team in the league, it seems like their run is ending here, as Chris Paul and Blake would improbably be going up 3-1 on the Warriors, putting them 1 game away from elimination. While I'd like to say that Game 5 would be the start of a historic comeback, it seems like the Warriors are running out of gas. Because while they keep it close for the first 47 minutes of the game, the final 60 seconds would be rough to say the least. Golden State has to get a stop. It's the most... Oh my god, he's hitting that. Oh my god. Oh my god. So with the two eventually being eliminated, a new and extremely important question now arises. Did LeBron actually deserve the MVP? Because right now it seems like Steph was robbed. We still have a lot of unanswered questions now entering the following season. And just in case you forgot, a few years into the future, the team will be making a major roster move that'll definitely influence the results of this competition. But for now, let's see if the Warriors duo can bounce back in the 2015 season, starting with the regular season, where LeBron's rebounding by upping his stats once again to finally average a triple-double, as he's scoring 25 per game along with 10 assists and 10 rebounds, setting himself up for the MVP. But don't give him the trophy just yet. Steph's also putting up monster numbers, averaging 33 and 8 himself. Each, of course, is good enough to win the award. But while you might think LeBron would have the edge considering last season, the actual recipient would be none other than Steph Curry, as it seems like the voters are now valuing the pure scoring that he brings more, resulting in him winning MVP #3. So with all that being said, we're now on to the playoffs, and because of how last season ended, this run might be the most important to date. Because in real life, the 2015 season was the first title for the Warriors and the start of their dynasty, so another loss right here would definitely be brutal, especially for LeBron since he's the only new member on the roster, and if they lose here, everyone's going to look his way. But of course, you can count on both he and Steph to bounce back. And with the help of the supporting cast, they would return to the conference finals for a showdown with the Dame-led Blazers. And while it would eventually go to a concerning 7 games, if they get sent home by Dame here, I don't know, I don't understand. In the end, it would actually be a false alarm, as the two would finish the job at home to move on to the finals, where they'd have to take down the Toronto Raptors, who are making it here a few seasons early. But of course, their run is ending here, as Steph and LeBron would seal the deal to return to the top of the basketball mountain with their 4th collective title, with LeBron winning his 3rd Finals MVP. I would assume since he averaged a triple-double in the regular season that he averaged one in the finals, so I guess, yeah, it makes sense he's winning the Finals MVP. Once again, both stars have split the 2 major awards for the season. And while this whole time it's been back and forth, eventually only one can come out on top as we enter the 2016 season. We all know that was the year where the Warriors finished with a historic 73-9 season. But if you add LeBron to that same roster, how many more games could they win? Well, it turns out, while yes, the record is improving, it's not by as much as you'd think, as the Warriors are finishing with 1 extra win, ending the season with 74. And just like in real life where Steph Curry would win the MVP in a unanimous decision, he's also winning the award here, adding a 4th to his total, keeping history mostly the same, which brings up an interesting question. If the Warriors just had the best season ever, and LeBron and Steph are on the same team, but Steph wins the MVP, does that mean that he's a better player than LeBron? There's really only one way to find out, and to keep the playoffs short, while in real life the Warriors would lose in the finals, the main reason why that happened is now on their side. NBA history is about to change once again, as the Warriors are now heading into Boston for the finals, not Cleveland, and they're defeating them in 4 games easily with a sweep. And with the two undoubtedly in their primes, we still have to find out who's the Finals MVP. This game is broken. How is Jay Crowder the Finals MVP? Why is he holding the trophy? Who won? I don't know what that was all about, but the actual Finals MVP, if the game wasn't so bad, it would have gone to Steph. We could have seen him hold the trophy, which would have been nice. So while 2K made it difficult for some reason and ruined the cutscene, Steph's finishing with both awards for the season, now only being 1 Finals MVP from tying up LeBron. But while in total the two already have 5 championships, it's definitely getting easier in the 2017 season, as Kevin Durant will be joining the Warriors to form what's almost certainly the best team the sport has ever seen. It's really only a matter of seeing how good they are and if KD's presence will affect the results of LeBron and Steph's competition. So for that reason, we're actually going to skip past that era for now and revisit it at the very end as we try to find out who's the better player. Meaning that we're now in the 2020 season, which in real life was a disaster for the Warriors as they would miss the playoffs. But now in an alternate reality, with 2 superstars ready to go, they would finish with 61 wins as a 2 seed, with both putting up MVP caliber stats. But between the two, it's definitely LeBron who needs the award more, considering he only has 2 to Steph's 4. And at least for now, he's going to have to wait a while longer, because the MVP isn't going to Golden State as it's heading out east to Philly instead, with the recipient being none other than Joel Embiid. He averaged 40, and that might have been a bad sign, because unfortunately the pain wouldn't end there, as in the second round of the playoffs they'd run into the James Harden and Westbrook-led Rockets. And to keep it short, while this series would also go to Game 7, it would wind up being a disaster, as the Warriors are being sent home, at home, in front of their home fans, meaning that between both Steph and LeBron, both are walking away empty-handed for the season. Which, combined with the fact that both are getting older, you have to wonder if we're starting to see the end of the Warrior dynasty. Either way, that question is going to be answered in these final few seasons, starting with 2021. And just as a reminder, between the two players, it's definitely Steph who's the go-to scorer of the team, as he's routinely averaging around 30 per game. But while there's suddenly a ton of Warrior doubters, it would actually be LeBron who would silence them for now, as he's barely missing out on a triple-double average to win MVP number 3. LeBron was 1 decimal point away from averaging a triple-double. 0.1 assists, that was the difference. And now with the momentum from previous seasons now being reclaimed, it's no surprise that both LBJ and Steph are heading back to the finals. But while to this point they haven't lost yet when they've made it this far, they're definitely up against their toughest opponent yet out in Brooklyn. Because while the Warriors have 2 Hall of Famers, the Nets have 3 in Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving. I'm not gonna lie, this is the first time where I've kind of felt like the Warriors are kind of the underdogs. And while the Warriors have the 2 best players, it seems like the depth of the Nets would be too much, as they'd put up a serious fight to the point where they're going up 3-1. And already with questions about the dynasty potentially ending, this might actually be the final straw. Because if they lose here, it basically confirms that there's a new super team on the horizon with a former Warrior leading the way. But with the sports world watching carefully, the Warriors would begin their potential comeback by winning Game 5 at home. After that, the series would once again shift to Brooklyn, but again, they would fight back as LeBron and Steph are forcing Game 7. And while those numbers hold a different meaning for the both of them, they would finish the job at home once more to complete the comeback, as they would hold on to a late lead until the final moments of the game. And after one final exclamation point from Steph Curry, LeBron and Steph are coming back from down 3-1, Steph to the basket, and 1, that'll do it. The Warrior duo have silenced all the doubters for now to win their collective 6th title. And as far as the finals MVP goes, it would be LeBron yet again, finishing with a clean sweep for the season, winning yet another trophy to go up 4-2 over Steph. And with only 3 more seasons left until the present day, it's clear that this one is definitely going down to the wire. So, now entering the 2022 season, which ended with a championship for the Warriors in real life, it's only fitting that the LeBron and Steph duo would get off to yet another hot start. And while earlier the longevity of the dynasty was being put into question, it seems like one of the 2 stars would now be entering his 2nd prime.
The change that I've watched him make as far as the weight, he's going to work out as long as he has to. Man, it takes somebody 2.5 hours to do a workout, he do in 30 minutes. But we can all imagine the amount of shots you have to shoot to be that great.
So with his new and improved game, Steph would definitely see some immediate results in the regular season, as while averaging his usual 30+ per game, he's turning the MVP tide back in his favor to win the award for a 5th time. He's back, again. And with that momentum, he would help the Warriors fly through the West as usual to return to the finals in their quest for title number 7, with their last opponent in their way being Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat. Here we go, Warriors Heat, almost happened in real life. And just as it was in real life, it would be Steph leading the Warriors to the 2022 championship by putting up iconic performance.
It's good! Steph Curry from downtown!
After iconic performance.
Curry a long 3. It's good! Steph Curry from way downtown!
And in the end, while LeBron of course played well, this season was easily dominated by Steph, who's walking away with Finals MVP number 3. Now making us 2 seasons away from the present day, but of course, we can't forget about the 2017, 2018, and 2019 seasons, where KD's on the team. Because if either LBJ or Steph won any awards during that time, of course, those are getting added to their totals. Speaking of awards though, let's focus back on the 2023 season, where while both Steph Curry and King James would put up their usual MVP-worthy stat lines, we would see a very unusual result, as once again their MVP is being stolen, heading out east, now being claimed by none other than the process, Joel Embiid. Simulation loves Embiid right now, and that's worth mentioning, because I'm not going to waste your time, the playoffs wouldn't be that much better. As in the conference finals, the Warriors would run into another pair of Hall of Famers out in LA, that being Paul George and Kawhi, who are finally healthy. And at this point, you probably know where I'm going with this one, as while it would go to Game 7, the Warriors will lose. Both Steph and LeBron are going home empty-handed yet again. They're still really good, but the championships have definitely slowed down compared to earlier. And you gotta wonder if the dynasty is actually over like people say it is, because we're now entering the final season of the duo before we go back in time. Can Steph and LeBron still compete with the younger superstars of the modern game? We're about to find out, and it starts with them somehow winning enough games to finish as the 1 seed, which is extremely strange since there have been plenty of seasons where this wasn't the case. Could it be the newly found addition of Chris Paul, or have our 2 stars entered yet another prime? Most likely, it's the second, as one of the 2 is walking away with another MVP. And to be specific, it would be someone who's about to win his 4th, that being none other than LeBron James. And yeah, onto our final playoffs. Before we get into that though, let's check up on the score. Right now it seems like Steph's the better regular season player, but LeBron turns it on more in the postseason. And that's important information as we head into the last playoff run for the two, which would definitely have its ups and downs, starting off with the first round, as the Warriors would barely make it out of a series with the Suns in 7 games, just for that to repeat as they'd barely scrape past Memphis and Ja Morant in the conference finals. I mentioned this to say that while they're making it out of the West, it definitely didn't come easy at all, and if anything, it serves as an explanation as to why they're losing to the Milwaukee Bucks, ironically led by the shooting of Dame and the interior all-around play of Giannis. LeBron and Steph have basically closed out the dynasty by losing to a fresh super team with 2 players that have similar games. And while they had a really good run, and to our knowledge they have 7 titles, there's no time to be sad about how the last season played out, since that number can change depending on the results of the 19, 18, and 17 seasons. We all know what's about to happen here, so let's not waste any time. The league's most iconic duo has now become a trio by adding yet another Hall of Famer who just so happens to be averaging 29 per game. Which is extremely important to note because that completely explains why Steph is dropping from over 30 points per game down to 27, and LeBron dropping from around 26 per game down to 22, which is very low for his standards. So with the scoring dropping by so much, it's safe to assume that the MVP race is now in serious jeopardy. But in the end, it would still be LeBron, who's better equipped to contribute in other areas such as rebounding, passing, and defense, which ultimately means, despite the lowered scoring, he's winning MVP number 5. Without a doubt, we are looking at the most controversial MVP to date. And with that, we're now on to the first of 3 playoff runs for the newly formed super team. Starting off with the Blazers in the first round, OKC in the second, and Utah in the conference finals, who for the most part were pretty easy, leading the way for the trio to move on to the actual finals together for the first time. And while they're heading to New York to challenge Melo, D-Rose, and Porzingis, who would play their hearts out in every single game to the best of their abilities, it would ultimately be for nothing, as the Warriors have way too much firepower, eventually finishing the series with a sweep. And after 2K decided to glitch again and play the Finals MVP cutscene for the wrong player, they're doing the glitch again, man. They gave the Finals MVP to Melo even though he lost. The true recipient would actually be LeBron James, who's topping off his controversial regular season award with a controversial 5th Finals MVP. Oh my god, bro, comment section's about to freak out. But in the end, it counts, now making it 5 total for the King. And considering we only have 2 more years left, it puts an immense amount of pressure on Steph to catch up. So with that being said, we're now moving on to 2018, where for the most part, everything's the same. Steph and KD are firing away from the perimeter, while LeBron, of course, is averaging close to a triple-double. But where the differences start to show just so happens to be centered around the MVP, as it's heading out to OKC and falling into the hands of Russell Westbrook, who's averaging a triple-double. It's definitely worth noting, though, that he might not have won the award had KD stayed on OKC, so it seems like, in a way, KD's affected the competition yet again, meaning we still have a 5-5 tie between the two. Okay, so this one isn't actually that crazy. Russ is winning the MVP. Makes sense. But what can change here is the Finals MVP, as the Warriors have made it back facing Boston yet again. To put it bluntly, Steph has to win the award right now, otherwise he can't come back. There's only 2 seasons left and he's down 2 to LeBron. And with the team being so good, it's basically a guarantee that they'll win the title. There's a lot on the line, but in the end, Steph Curry would actually pull through, as he'd be the one leading the team in scoring, averaging 32 per game in the finals to win his 4th Finals MVP. LeBron's gonna have to score more than the 17 per game that he averaged last season, because right now Steph has a chance to tie LeBron up. And with that, we now have 1 more season left. All of the previous 14 seasons have led us to this very moment, as we're about to find out who's the better player. Steph's trying to protect his status as the face of the Warriors, while LeBron's trying to completely take it over himself. But with the two chasing their different goals, they're going to have to fight through KD's presence and influence on the team, as him being on their side has once again let Russell Westbrook dominate the ball again in OKC, winning yet another MVP, closing the door on the regular season MVP race, locking LeBron and Steph into a 5-5 tie. So for one last time, the only award that can change here is the Finals MVP, which also means that the pressure has increased even more on Steph to tie up LeBron and force a potential tiebreaker. Can he actually get it done? Those questions are about to be answered extremely shortly, as the trio are storming past the first 3 rounds of the playoffs to go after Philly in the finals as their last opponent, featuring Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons, and Joel Embiid. Three really good players who still pale in comparison to the super team from the Bay, as eventually they would go up 3 games in the series, all but confirming that we're seconds away from their 10th and final collective championship. And as part of Steph and LeBron's newly created history as teammates, we've watched scoring titles, triple-doubles, deep threes, thunderous slams, and overall record-breaking seasons. No matter where the competition ends, we can crown them as the top 2 players of all time and the greatest duo ever. But in the end, only one can come out on top, as LeBron James would close out the dynasty with Finals MVP number 6, officially winning the challenge over Steph, becoming the face of the franchise, and ending off as the greatest of all time.